in those days, where it was, big studios were they were the hub, and people would go flock to those, and you'd have to record in those to get good sound. So it was kind of a meeting place, and there was a real scene, and that was the charm about those places. People would show up. I remember Lee Aaron showing up. Lee Aaron and her guitar player showed up again, just in the lounge as we were recording. Multiple studios in that facility, so you just really had a nice vibe. Whereas today, everyone's recording in their bedrooms, in their homes, which has advantages too, but you kind of lose that social aspect of it, which as a very young musician, I really loved. So this guitar, I'd say it's a little bit of a fragile guitar, because it's, I guess every guitar is fragile, but I just feel because it's small, I have to protect it. And we were playing at the Viper Room in Hollywood a few years ago, and what you see actually, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors actually, because the place is very small, probably about 150 people. It's legendary. It's a cool place, but basically when you play there, you have your gear off to the side, because there's usually multiple bands. So we were playing with a couple other bands. So when you're trying to get on stage, all your stuff is on the side, so they pull it forwards. And I was really watching this guitar because it's so fragile. And luckily, it was okay. I made it through, and I played on a couple of songs, which that's what I do with this guitar. And then at the end of the set, what happens when we finish at the Viper Room, the curtains close, and then the back door opens off the stage to the street, and you literally have to walk out into Hollywood Boulevard with all your gear. And here I am with this little guitar. I don't know where the case is. I'm standing on Hollywood Boulevard with this little guitar. Where's the case? And we just played this rocking show in the Viper Room. But we're just around people begging for money, and street people. And here we are, just playing the Viper Room, and this guitar's in my hand. So, but it made it through. It didn't get damaged, and that was pretty cool. This was early in my career, really early. We were recording in Ontario, in Scarborough actually, Phase One Studios, which a lot of people have recorded there. But the cool thing about that, I was working with members of Saga at the time, the Canadian band Saga, and it ended up Steve Nagus. We did some demos at Phase One, and they turned into album tracks really. But Steve Nagus produced them. Steve was the drummer for Saga. But the cool thing is they knew a lot of people at the time. They were still very connected to the industry, and I sort of remember this show. But there was this duo, this husband and wife duo, and it was called Cheryl and Robbie Ray, and I think they had a show on CTV or CBC or something, and so I think it was Steve, or it was Ian Crichton, the guitar player. I'm not sure which one. They knew Robbie, and so they phoned Robbie to come in and do some background vocals, and the analogy I'm going to use for Robbie is he was kind of like a Davy Jones. He kind of had that English accent, and a fun, positive, really, really nice guy. Yeah, I think what we wanted something with a high voice, and he had a really high voice. So we were doing these harmonies. It was a song called "The Stranger." Actually, it was a cool tune. And so basically, the funny thing is, I just find it funny that I've got Robbie Ray of the Rays singing background on a rock track that Steve Nagus and working with guys of the band Saga, and it all came into play in that one studio in a snowstorm. There was a snowstorm that day that he came into in Scarborough, so fond memory there. I was in Temecula. Went down to Temecula for like a film music festival. One of the reasons we went down there was to meet with Arnold Lanni. And Arnold Lanni was originally in Frozen Ghost. Actually, before that he was in Sheriff, and he wrote that song "When I'm With You" that became a big hit in the U.S. about 7 years later. So I always liked Arnold's writing, and I liked what he did, and worked with Our Lady Peace after that, and I really liked his production. So I was considering working with him, and he was totally open to it. So we went down to Temecula, and his studio, beautiful studio. Like if you just saw a picture of it, he's got beautiful Persian rugs and open space, and it's really awesome. But it's in like an industrial park. It's like the outside is totally different. anyway, we met for the afternoon and shared some ideas, and we never ended up working together up to this point, but I don't rule it out. I think that, you know, we clicked very well, and I'd like to work with Arnold at some point. So, all right, so my second Temecula story is that for the film festival that was there, part of the music festival, we were invited to go to the gala, the last night where they're giving out the awards. And we met a bunch of people at a bar restaurant the night before, and one of them, his name was Ken Rose. And so we struck up a really good conversation, and, you know, had a bit of a kindred spirit thing going on. And so turns out that he produced one of Alan Parsons' records. I thought it's so cool. Here's a Halifax boy, you know, in Temecula, California, just after having met with Arnold Landy. Now I'm talking to a producer who worked with Alan Parsons. It's a very strange and small world, wonderful world. Anyway, so we went to, and I've always been just a fan, you know, a big fan of Alan Parsons and his music. So he said, well, you know, we should do some work together, but come tomorrow night, because I'm presenting Alan with a Lifetime Achievement Award. And so I guess the sum of the story is that I got to meet Alan Parsons, one of the guys I really respect. Very nice guy, you know, loved his English accent. We took a couple of nice pictures together. And I think that the moral of that story is that we're all connected in some way, and you just never know where you're going to run into somebody, and that was a pretty exciting moment. So the next project coming up is a music video. We're going to shoot a music video for Desert Moon. Another project that's coming out shortly, or actually kind of being re-released, is a music documentary called Shine On. All throughout Halifax we shot it, flew to Los Angeles, and we shot it in Santa Monica and Venice Beach and all these cool places. So as a singer and kind of primarily a rhythm guitar player, I work with a lot of other great guitar players. I've partnered with Creighton Doan, who's a producer, really great musician. He's played the guitar on my first 3 albums quite a bit, and we've also been working with Pete L'Esperance. He was in a band called Harum Scarum with Creighton. He's a really, really super player. And most recently I've worked with Rob Bonfiglio, who was in my band in Los Angeles, and he's the music director for Wilson Phillips.
I hope you're enjoying this series, and if you'd like to support this series as well as John Mullane, just add a Long Distance Traveler song and a John Mullane song to your playlist on whatever music platform you use. And that would be appreciated so much. Here comes the next episode of In the Studio With.